Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And I greet you as always with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Now, with that said, I hope that all of you, whoever may watch this video, is doing their best to understand what's going on. And even if you don't understand what's going on, the important thing now that is that even the truth that people seek is starting to create even more chaos in a way. Because now that they see some of these truths, which some of us have been discussing and at least saying, there's another point of view here. And this other point of view is starting to sink in with some of them. And their reaction and their overreaction, and some folks, I guess you could say there's an underreaction because they just look at it and they just shrug their shoulders and go, okay, it's like now some of this has to include some current events, which do include politics, okay? Because we need to discuss how this is sort of fitting into this agenda, okay? And I don't want to delve into this or that, but it must be mentioned. And for example, all right, now the Hunter Biden thing, okay? Back when Biden was VP under Obama, there was a big stink when his son went over to the Ukraine and did what he did. And so for people to say he had no involvement, I don't remember the specifics, but I remember that there was a big stink over it, and folks were like, well, we should look into this. Well, it's the vice president, So, but what's going on? The last elections, I see patterns, because history seems to repeat itself. So the last elections, there was Hitlery and Wiener's laptop. Remember? It hasn't been that far back that we forget. So whether there was any truth in that, and we're going to hear about that, and if we ever see it, and that's been 4 years ago. Have we seen squat from that? Anything? I mean, Hitlery's still running around with Billy, right? And, nobody's been arrested to our knowledge. Nothing's actually been done. There's been this and a tit for tat, but has anything been done? No, nada. So, well, that was the Democrats, right? And they're, and against the Republicans. And you think to yourself, well, wait a minute. All right. But now, so there's been evidence, there's been this, and there's been, at least enough Republicans to be able to say, well, listen, let's discuss this. Nothing's been done. So where does that lead us? Well, they're going to tell us the truth. Here's where I'm getting with this. So, the Q crowd, which I was a part of there for a while because it was interesting. And there seemed to be some, similarities at least. And what the Q thing did at least was to get people to start diving into, the political, and it's like, wait a minute, is this person really telling the truth? Well, he says he is. Well, and Brutus, was an honorable man. So we have, the deceivers are everywhere, not just spiritually, but there are some of these folks, and I want to drop this in your lap, for example. Has anyone stopped to think about, during this pandemic, that Duggar's just jumping around tonight. There's nobody out there. There's a thunderstorm, and he's been just jumping at the door. Got light showers here at the moment. But the idea, though, that, this pandemic, I was, scratching my head way back when about, how did these millions of masks suddenly appear all over the place, to be given out to here and there. Oh, and I got one in the mail the other day from my healthcare provider after 9 months of being under quarantine, or 8 months being under quarantine. I'd get a mask in the mail by my medical service provider. What, y'all couldn't send one sooner? Just saying. Not that I necessarily want to wear it, but it's like, so you want me to be healthy, but you're going to wait until October to send me a mask. Well, they were backlogged. I can understand, but there's whatever it is that's going on. So this pandemic, though, we look at what's going on now. So we all know that Creepy Joe, for those of us who remember about 8 years ago, about the incident in Ukraine, and that he was involved, and that they did know about it. And it was because Joe was a VP that there was a lot of stuff that just went under the table and things got quieted down. So why is this important now? Well, now guess what they're doing in the news? It's now Hunter Biden's laptop hard drive. Okay. So we went from a Wiener hard drive to a Hunter, hard drive. And they're just like, wait a minute, that's what they did similarly 4 years ago, ain't it? Just out of curiosity. So even though they are telling the truth, don't know what's on the hard drive, and if there really is one, Rudy Giuliani is going to pass out the information, and everything is in some kind of controlled burn, if you will. And so, but it's like, now I have suggested for quite some time that, that the Republicans and the Democrats, they're just, the Democrats are the Chicago mob, okay? And the Republicans are the the Las Vegas mob. So which group do you want to be controlled by? I've been through Southside Chicago, and, somebody said, hey, Southside or Las Vegas? And you'd go, ooh, Las Vegas, lights and dancing and gambling and woo. So which would you prefer? Well, I would prefer not to go, no offense to those from Chicago. I think we have a viewer or subscriber too from Chicago, but if I had my choice, I would say, well, I think Las Vegas wins out over those, if those are my only two choices. So, but in this, there are people who were like, they were so full of Trump, okay, that he had become godlike to them. And here, very recently, these folks are starting to understand that, wait a minute, he's just another mob boss. That's all. And the folks in Las Vegas got a different point of view rather than the folks who run Chicago. That's all, but it's these two different factions. So you say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean by that? They're both mob bosses. Both parties are mob bosses, okay? You got to just get that through your head. So, but there are some people who have just started to realize that, and it's like many of us have sort of understood this for a while. Which party do I vote for? The one I don't want. I vote against. I don't want Biden. Can't do it. I can't do it. And I've even considered not voting. And I was like, yeah, but then he might actually win, So it's like, do I really want Trump? Not necessarily, because I know that those folks with that kind of power, yes, they want to bring businesses and so forth back into America. It's better to keep us happy slaves making stuff, And, because the plan of the Democrat, well, actually, it was Democratic and Republican back with the NAFTA agreement. So when they said, sure, we want to get free labor and the businesses want to make more money, that business model failed because it was Americans making the products that kept America going. Because when they took that away, they took away our buying power. So now we became, just like was predicted 30 years ago, America would become a service nation. And, Clinton's talked about it. The Bushes talked about it. Part of the New World Order, that America would become what we thought was that we were going to work on other people's stuff. We want to teach people. No, what they did was they turned us into servants, serving each other, bartenders, no manufacturing. All of this went out the window. So they changed the entire paradigm of the United States. But what those folks on that side of the group messed up, because it really, really, took all their buying power away. And the government just said, no, ain't going to support you. And then allowed, a lot of illegals in, and, a lot of stuff to, compliment them and help them. And, oh, welcome, because we're the land of the free and the home of the brave and all that, snodgrass stuff. And to the point where, when we look back at the truth, what did it do? It tore our economy to shreds, I talked about, when I had my own, when I went out on my own in business, and I had my construction permits, I had everything, but I had to charge a certain amount for my time. It wasn't a lot, but you could hire 2 Mexicans for the price of me. And I don't care how good I am or was or could be, but 2 people against 1, it just ain't going to work especially the same price. So they'd work for $5 an hour and run to the table immediately. Well, I'm working for $10 an hour, and I can't compete. So they tore a number of businesses down back then. They just took a lot of business out of the South down here and turned us into depending upon the state, the government, or whatever to help us out, because all of our options had been taken. Unless we wanted to work for Walmart or go sell shoes or something. Not that there's anything wrong with selling shoes. I mean, Al Bundy did it for years, right? And then he moved up in the world. But, the idea, though, that some of these folks have had a long-term plan for us for quite a while. I got a chance to talk to my adopted granddaughter yesterday, and who's 11 years old. And she's like, listen, I'm not taking no shots. No more, no shots. They, I'm into that age where the HPV, whatever, no, she goes, I ain't taking it. And they're not going to hit me with it. I will, if I have to quit school. And Mama was sitting right there going, and I told them both, I said, if you need a place to hide out, if the government, you can come down here and I'll protect you. As long as I'm here, I'll protect you, no. So, and she was like, many of my friends are like that, but some of their parents aren't. So the word on the street on some of these things, and everybody's divided as to who's telling the truth. Well, some of this truth is the truth, and both sides are telling it. That's what's so damn confusing. And that's making the chaos level jump into the, I don't know, the plaid zone. If you've ever watched Spaceballs, we're going plaid because red just don't get it. You've gotten, to the orange and the yellow and the red, and now you have gone plaid. So we're at a point right now, and I was thinking back and looking at the news and stuff today, and I was like, I remember the 60s. And I'm at Tampa Catholic, and we had to do book reports and things. And in our civics class, we had to, keep up with current events and so forth, which meant we had to read a newspaper, and it was a requirement. We had to read so many articles per week and stuff. But, in that, it got me interested in what the hell was going on and who was doing what and what was actually being said. And then later on, I had been at some of these rallies in Tampa. It was the Youth of Tampa rallies or something like that. And they put on a couple of concerts and stuff, and it was absolutely well-meaning. And nobody was fighting or getting around anyway. But every time that there was one of those youth rallies, the police always stepped in at some point because they caught somebody with a joint and started busting people and rioting. And then they turned around and said there was a riot at the youth thing. And it was the police that started it, you know. And oh boy. So I learned a long time ago that what is said and what actually happened is not necessarily the truth. But the newspaper said, yeah, but I was there. Well, what do you mean? Well, me and this guy and that guy, and you know him, right? Yeah. Well, we were all there, and that's not what happened. But it was all over the newspaper. Yeah, they made it a big deal. And maybe on purpose. We were just there to listen to the music. So that was about 70, late 70s, 71 in that time frame in Tampa. But so I'm thinking back on some of those times, and I'm going, you know, some of this stuff is being replayed. It's just, but it's not the 70s anymore. It's now. We have computers and cell phones and things, and we have and we can respond to something that we see immediately with Instagram and Twitter and all these other stuff, right? So we stay in instant contact. But that just means that whatever somebody is saying is the truth, whichever side it is, that we're being bombarded with the truth, which is literally adding to the chaos, which is already here. Yeah, but this guy said this. Well, listen, we listened to Roy for quite a while now, and he was all Trump this, Trump that, and we got to back Trump, we got to do this. And now all of a sudden, he sort of had a come to Jesus meeting with himself and some other folks. And they're kind of sort of in an uprising about it, and they're in a quandary. And now what do we do? So the real truth that was standing right there in front of them, the idea that both parties are mob bosses, just different branches of it, and that's what's been going on for a long time. Because with all the evidence that is supposedly in Congress, if it were me and I was, you know, in the FBI or something like that, I would be screaming up and down going, we've got all this evidence against the guy who's running for president, and we don't stop it. We're not going to say anything. Now, I know there was evidence because we saw it about, 8 years ago-ish kind of thing. It was there. It was obvious. It was all over the news, go back a ways. But so now that somehow they have new information, what about the flipping old information that should still be good because it was an act of treason? It says right in when I will be the president or vice president, you sign, an oath of office. And in that, if any of these things you've done, you have at least broken your oath of office. So what about the rest of this chaos? Well, as some of us know, and I have learned from different areas and things and a little bit more research the last few days, there seems to be a hell-bent, the Luciferians and Satanists and them kind of folk are coming out of the woodwork, just from all different sides, from different areas, and people are going, what? You mean you what? Yeah, me and my friends cast a spell against this person, and me and my friends, we're going to do this. And then people just kind of shake their heads and go, why are you telling me now? Well, we thought maybe you wanted to participate. Just thought, like, okay. So in all this time of chaos, there are people being approached from seemingly friends that they've trusted. There's this word trust. So, but that in that trust, there's supposed to be truth, right? If you trust someone, aren't you supposed to be truthful, or they with you at least? Now, but to be trustful, that's to be able to tell the truth and trust that you will be back. that you will be truthful in a reciprocating way, right? So, with this understanding, though, are people being truthful? Well, let's put this in a little tailspin here. From their point of view, they're correct. And you go, wait a minute, WTF here, Hawkeye? What do you mean? Old Uncle Joe, who's moving kind of slow at the junction, he actually believes what he's saying. Okay, whether it's truthful or not. And there have been folks, I was catching up with some more news here yesterday and today, and his lies go way back to generals, and other people. When he was a senator, he made claims that he was in the Air Force, and because of his, and that he served as a JAG, you know, and come to find out, he had several deferments to keep him out of the armed services, even though he was playing collegiate, scrimmages and things. That he couldn't serve in the armed forces because he had asthma. So, he's been lying for a long time. So, and those of us who have sort of watched his political career, we don't need no stinking laptop to know that he's crooked, okay? And he's not of the Las Vegas mob group. We know that. So he must be from the other side. Now, what is freaking people out is they're really seeing the truth. The veil is truly being lifted. Oh, and by the way, the 5 waves of energy, we've had some FRB, they're called fast radio bursts, that are coming from an area of our solar system. And the scientists are a little creeped out about it, in that they're like, most of these that we've received have come from like out of the solar system. And this one came with inside the solar system. Woo. And there were like 3 in a row. But anyway, but to the point though, we do have, science is admitting that we've got lots of stuff coming from all different areas. So that's just sort of a, not necessarily conspiracy, but they're here, that we are getting these blasts. Milky Way. Yeah, I just wanted to get on here. I didn't want to interfere with anybody. So I wanted to get on here early and just kind of make a couple of statements. Dominic, yeah, from outer Chicago. Yeah, Dominic, hey, Mother Nature, how are you? Much love right back at you. I've been sending quiet prayers to you. Hope you're doing okay. Barry Chad, they are murderers, evident what they did to our friends and family. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what they do to people that, what they do in the Social Security system is they make you wait for at least 2 years, and they drag it on and drag it on. And there have been a certain amount, when I was, quote, in that system, because I had to continue, that I wasn't getting better, which meant that I had to get worse, that you become there. They actually started using a new clinical term for it, which I can't remember at the moment. But basically, even though you have a disability, doctors qualify you, but somebody in Social Security says, no, we're going to reject this and you got to go back. So even though 2 or 3 years later now, you can't work, because if you do, that proves you're not, but how are you going to live? Are you going to starve during that time? Nobody's going to give you any benefits. That's why you're applying for disability. So, but in all of this struggle and everything, what they're actually doing is trying to kill a few people off. They'll get so tired that they won't apply. And for me, I was like, I can't work. I have seizures. I shouldn't really be driving, and I don't live in a city, not going to move. And I went through the Georgia Department of Disability, and they said, nope, we wouldn't hire him. Even though he has these talents and even though he's a good engineer, we wouldn't hire him because of his seizures. And I was like, so, but I could take that information and hand it over to the feds. And the Fed says, well, that's just not good enough. Wait, this is the state of Georgia, who I went through all of their hoops, went to all of their whatever they required, and they absolutely said, we can't hire this guy. And wouldn't hire this guy because of his seizures. And so the judge says, well, that's just not enough proof. Where's the proof? And like, well, my stack was like this high with back issues and my neck issues. You're like, Your Honor, I got a scar right here. I've had 3 operations on my neck. I still have issues. I've got scars over my head where I've had head bang and what probably gave me the seizure. But would they listen? No. So they make you go through more hoops. They make you feel even worse because, well, you're not sick enough. And so they actually created a syndrome by their actions through the trying to get disability claim. And and if you want Medicaid, then you have to sign over all of your belongings in order to get any type of services. So like my Jackie's mama, she can't own anything. It's got to be in somebody else's name because Medicaid says, you can't really own anything. You can't own your home. You can't own your this, and it's like, wait a minute, you're already poor and destitute. You wouldn't be asking for help. So then they throw that extra on you. So if anything happens, now I'm already on Medicare because I am not on disability anymore. I'm on my Social Security retirement. So I got $8 more a month because of that. Ooh, that was thrilling. But the idea, though, so they can't take that. They can't take my property away because I'm on Medicare. Medicaid, I would have had to sign this property over to my daughter or something, and she would have allowed me to live. That's how people get by in the system. So, but here's the thing. If either side of the aisle, or whatever you want to call it, if they wanted to play fair, which they're not, then somebody would have already interceded with some of this stuff, whether there was a laptop or not, or this or that. But at the same time, some of these folks are like, well, if you don't do this, then you're not a Christian, Well, Christians are going to be pissed about that. Well, if you don't follow us, you're not a Christian. Or if you're not one of us, then you must be a fascist. So the name calling is going around extremely hard and rash right now. So in our truthfulness, when we have to stand and observe all these crazy people and the people who seem like, they were all these Trumpers, all of a sudden they picked up on some other information that I sort of discussed months ago. I mean, I was like, there's evidence that Trump is actually working for the Mater, and that, and Biden is working mainly for the Flash. So it's like, these are two ET kind of things, so the two mobs, and they both want control in their own area, but neither one wants to give up, control at all. You know what I mean? So you say, well, we're going to get rid of the deep swamp, right? How much of that deep swamp have you seen emptied? I'm just asking. So we're all seeking truth. And who's going to tell us the truth? Well, we're going to deal with the deep state. We're going to deal with these people. We're going to empty the swamp. We're going to blah, blah, blah. Has any of that actually transpired? Now, I'm not trying to dissuade you to vote one way or the other. I'm actually kind of wondering if I just want to participate. But at the same time, I don't want this other side to win. And God forbid, it's like, but are we actually agreeing to another paradigm that we really don't know the answer to? In other words, will he keep his promise? Will it stay that way? And is it he or him to begin with? He's just the out front man, okay? He's not the power of what's going on, okay? That is above and beyond Trump's pay grade. Now, we have to understand that. You say, well, it's all Trump's fault. No, it ain't. No, it's not. He's just the front man, you know? Uh, you're fired, right? This is a live TV broadcast. And although in my opinion, and quite a few other people, we agree with some of the stuff that he has stopped. But why did he stop these things? Well, to preserve America. And all those signs point in that direction. But, we don't make microcircuitry here in the United States. It all comes from Taiwan. Well, now Taiwan wants to have a war with China. And what does Trump want to do? He wants to send them whatever they need to defend themselves against China. So it's like, why? Well, because all our circuit boards and everything are made over there. All of our electronics, a lot of our electronics got moved overseas. And so it's like they haven't had a chance to move them back over here and hire people back to do the jobs that we used to do. I mean, Motorola and some of these folks were here in the United States, made the best Magnavox, RCA, Philco, absolutely wonderful names in radio and early televisions and so forth, and electronics. And, there aren't those kind of plants here anymore. We don't make the parts anymore. If you want a diode or something like that, you have to order it from overseas, and it can take you up to, 3 to 4 weeks to get a diode in the mail if there's nothing in America in stock. So it's like, that means all of our electronics are all of the parts are currently being made overseas. So if they want to stop shipping just the small parts, we can't build the bigger parts. What? Yes, that's the kind of control. So I see this shift in the business where they want to bring these things back to the United States. Give us jobs, give us income, but in a way that's still slavery. But listen to this, my friends. If you haven't figured out by now that we're all servants of whoever these people are or these entities, you get a job, you keep your head down, you get a decent home, you pay for it. I purchased my land. It's like there's so many folks that I know that have lost their homes and now they're renting or living with other people or something. And it's like, I fought to stay here regardless of how my place is. It's my house. I got to pay my taxes still, but with that, though, people, well, I'm going to remortgage my house and I'm going to do, thinking that everything was going to be okay, thinking that the truth was going to stay the truth. And then the bottom fell out of the markets and they lied to us some more. Invest your money in 401k. And then all the 401ks went down the tubes. So trust in us some more. We're telling you the truth. Invest in this over here. And so people invested in property values and things, and they became, miniature slumlords, And so now these people have 2 homes. They've mortgaged their house to buy this second piece of property, thinking it's going to bring them income, and nobody has a job to rent it. So now they've got 2 mortgages and obligations, and they've lost their job. Oh boy, that's what's been happening. So, but in the meantime, what's going on? The people with a lot of money are going back in and buying up these places. So they're going to own them for whatever reason. They're going to own them. So it's like, so what do we do about this? Think back on all the years for the last 4,000 years. There's always been somebody as the ruler. Okay. The rest of us are just peons. We're here for the ride. And so some of us get involved with politics and some of us get involved in this or that. And one could say, well, by me having this conversation, I'm involved in politics. Well, I'm involved in the spiritual end of this because for everything that we're watching out there, it is sucking our energy out of our souls. And we've got to be here on the other side. And Now, I just made that statement. What do I mean by that? I sort of had a little premonition today, but it's because of conversations I've had with people. My adopted granddaughter yesterday, and her mother, but in realization that there is a particular part of the younger group, not all of them, but in the some going down to 9 years of age. I mean, some of these kids are smart, but they're also aware, because with that smartness comes like, well, wait a minute, you want me to figure out how many trains and how many apples and bushels and stuff. But now I'm looking at the polls and I'm going, I see all these people at a Trump rally and nobody at a Biden rally. Now, you're telling me that 2 and 2 doesn't equal 4 anymore. Well, 0 means 0. So how are the polls going for Biden that are supposed to be 20 points ahead of Trump? You just have to. So even a 10-year-old can go, there's something wrong here. Nobody shows up for rallies, but he's 20 points ahead. No, it doesn't, it doesn't take an idiot to see something fishy's going on. So they're, all of this is good and everybody's fine. But the other side of the coin is that maybe neither side is the good side. And what we are actually doing is choosing the lesser of two evils. There was a joke in there somewhere at one time, but this isn't a joke. Now, God knows I wish there was actually a third person. But at this time, to go against the current flow, to me, would be absolute suicide. Because what would need to happen, though, is for this to go ahead. And if Trump is supposed to win, then he'll win. Here's the deal. If he messes up, there are a lot of people with guns. I don't have them. They took my privilege away because I smoke weed. I smoked weed and got caught at it. But the idea, I'm going to shoot somebody when I'm stoned. I don't think so. Where's the gun? I don't know. I fucking left the bullets upstairs, So I'm better off at throwing something at somebody. But anyway, I got a baseball bat and I can swing that stoned or not. But the other side of this coin is, though, that, now all of a sudden they have realized that neither party's very good. Well, I thought you people were smarter than this. Yeah, but Trump's supposed to be the savior. Yeah, he got sick on Friday, and by Sunday he rose from the dead and went back to work, waving and smiling at everybody, even holding his hands up to the sky and saying, I'm the chosen one, And I saw that and went, oh, fuck. He didn't have, he could have let that slide, that should have just skipped on by, but nope. So they are showing us some things right dead in our faces. So will I probably vote for him? Yeah, probably. Here's the reason, because at this particular point, to try to stop this flow and go with old Joe, if you will, is the only other option. Are you serious? And then this happened and that happened. And then Kamala Harris becomes the president. And then a vice president gets appointed without being, and then this will be that, and that'll be, hang on, we need to yank this back a little bit. And I don't want to interfere with Milky Way's show tonight. But we need to take a step back and go, now, what are the lesser of the two evils here? If we follow through and all right, Joe this isn't about politics. It's about what they want to do to us. Okay. So Joe has stated masks. They came right out and said masks. But he wants to free up the economy. So how are you going to free up the economy if you're going to make everybody wear a mask, because that's not freeing it up? Anyway. So they want to keep everybody in fear. They're blaming Trump because he didn't act soon enough on the about the virus. But then they say, but he overreacted, but didn't underreacted. So they're giving a 1 minute they're saying one thing about that Trump's at fault, then they're at fault. Well, to his defense on that, everybody was screaming, close down the borders. And so, as a responsible leader, you should go, well, now it was the rest of the United States that personally I think that went hog crap crazy. Okay. And then the Fauci syndrome, because in the beginning you said mask ain't going to do you no good. But yet I got one in the mail yesterday. So, but this idea, so what are you going to promote? Masks don't really stop the virus, but you want us to wear them anyway. And here's the flowered one, that our healthcare provider, that takes my money but hasn't provided me anything. But they're there if I need them. I know. But the idea, though, that thousands of dollars went into my healthcare provider this last year, and all I got was a dust mask. But what do we do about this? I'm in contemplating this and watching the politics. I think I have to stick with this for now, because they're going to fight it out after the election anyway. There's going to be a contention. There's already proof in some of these states. Pennsylvania is having issues, and the lower courts refuse to look at it about ballot tampering. I'm not going to vote early. I'm going to vote on that day because I don't want my vote, my ballot tampered with. Okay. So even though some of these systems are supposed to be secure, I scratch my head and go, no, I'm going to go the day it's supposed to. Come hell or high water, I'm going to drag myself 3 miles down the road and go vote. Actually, it's about 4, but but anyway, but to that point, I think we need to stick for now with a very careful eye on this guy that is supposed to be saving us, not Biden. Because if that were true, then Hillary and Bill would be in jail. Then Weiner's laptop would have been out. The DOJ and Barr and all this stuff and all this politics that's been going on. If I had information like, Barr and the ag folk, the attorney general, I would have brought charges up. I mean, I got busted for a couple of plants, and these guys have got dossiers and stuff and pictures and crap, and none of them goes to court. This system absolutely is rigged, and they keep things in limbo so they can bring them back up. Well, what about Weiner's laptop? We all got the shaft on that one, my friends, because, I was like, well, show it to us. Well, but the New York police said, oh, those pictures are just, you don't want to know. Well, okay, I don't want to know then, but what are you doing about it? Keep pimping that shit. Love infinitely, my friend. Hey, Marie. Oh, I was hoping that you were still well. Have a good night, Mother Nature. Yeah. David Castle. I just wear a bandana. Enjoy looking like a cowboy. Me too, Dave. Me too. Michelle, howdy. I like the village people. Yeah. Later, Mother Nature. Stay well, stay healthy, and stay wise. But anyway, with this though, do we know what the Trump clan is up for? Well, we can see sort of where he's headed, and it's not the same place that old Joe wants to go because he's already told us. So, from my opinion, knowing that they're both, more or less puppets of the mob of their particular, vein, then I would have to keep an eye on both of them anyway. But this new information, truth to these other people, and I've been keeping an eye on this, And silently, there are certain things that come out. And silently, there have been some pictures about this. And silently, there's been stuff about this. And so, and I'm beginning to wonder if some of these people who haven't been so macho attached with Trump, if they aren't somehow, I don't know about mind controlled, but somehow that they're part of it. You know, they believe it so heartily that they can't turn away from it. And that could be programming, that could just be instinct, that could be that they're a hybrid, that it could mean a lot of stuff. But you know, in it, do we want the other side? And most people, the folks that I've talked to, say no, we do not want them. That's that. So, but what are we going to be getting in return? Regardless of whether we love or hate Trump, love or hate Biden, whoever gets it, we got to keep an eye on. Okay? That's the truth of this. So, how do you, like, what do I do? Well, at the moment, there is a lesser of two evils, but that doesn't mean that they're both weevils. Okay? Weasels, weevils. Okay? So, we keep an eye on both of them, but one wins over the other. We really know where these folks want to go because of where Joe and his group was in the past 4 years ago. So we really don't want to go there. Now, what do we expect in the future? Now, I absolutely do believe that's up to us. So we take the lesser of two weevils at this point, keeping a damn sharp eye on what's going on because we know they're both working for the mob. That's it. Well, because it's proven if Trump was going to do any of this stuff, people would have been indicted. Well, he tweets out about Barr. Well, fire his ass, get somebody in there who will. There are people who would volunteer to go in for free, probably some of them, just to be able to bring some of these people to court. Is anybody doing it? No. So what does that tell me the last 4 years? They're both locked in it. Well, the Russiagate and the P thing, that was just fabricated. And there's so much proof that it was engineered by the Democratic Party that them people should be picked up and at least held for fraud, okay, and pay the American taxpayer back for all the monies that were spent. And some of these people who were bitching got paid in some way because they were on retainer or something. So there are a lot of people benefited from those hearings and this and that. You know, they're money grubbing people. So it's like special hearing, special counsel. That means let's pass some money out, right? So here's the thing. All of these people are criminal in one way, shape, or another. And but there are people in the private sector who are qualified who would say, look, hey, I've been an attorney for 20 years. I'll take him on. I've been a prosecutor down here in Georgia. I'll take him on. You know, well, where's the precedence is with the law. Here's the thing. When you present it, will it actually, well, you know, that's not admissible in court. But Your Honor, you know, I've been in court sometimes and I've seen some of these things, you know, personally. And it's like, watch it happen to other people. I've watched it happen to me. You know, 30 days, boom. But Your Honor, nope, out of here, you know, and the next thing you know, you're in jail. So I thought, but I buy Tink, you know, and you're off to the clank. But so in all of this, should it freak us out? There are people right now on a few of these channels that I've subscribed to for a while now, not necessary to listen to. You know, it's to keep up to date with what those folks are thinking. And supposedly, you know, ex-military captains. One of them was a well, a lieutenant, a captain, and also a major, separate channels. But in that, though, they've all got their history. You know, I was in the military and it was like this. Well, I was in the Air Force. Well, this guy was a Marine and this guy was an Army. So they all have their opinion about what this or that or this is. So, but it's interesting, this one talks about this. Okay, so when I look at the picture, I go, there's a couple of similarities in there. And what's the similarities? Well, okay. So here are the things that we can see that they all will agree on. Trump hasn't started any fights overseas anywhere, but he's wanted to increase the military budget. Now, also, he, quote, created the secret space program. Oh, well, not secret anymore, but for a lot of us, we've known that mess has been going on for a long time, but he outed it, okay? So, but with that outing, it also should tell us, sort of like what Ronald Reagan did as president. He was trying to warn us all about up there. And that could the countries of the world unite if there was an outside force that was, upon us, and he spoke very clearly to, Gorbachev back in the day. And like, listen, if aliens attack, can we count on you Russians? I mean, that has come out in some of the old archives. But to a bigger point on this, there are those who know that there is a bigger deal going on. Now, let me sort of give a tidbit on that. I've listened to Laura Eisenhower and so many folks over the years. And Dwight Eisenhower is supposedly, and if you watch, Project, the old, the Ancient Aliens and Project Blue Book and stuff like that, there is a lot of evidence that we knew back in the day, back in the 60s. It was stories told by people in the Air Force and stuff, Well, in Tampa is still MacDill Air Force Base. So we heard these stories, okay? But about how Ike went out to the middle of the desert to meet some, aliens from a different somewhere. And that they basically came and said, listen, we have title to this planet. We just thought you wanted to know. And we're kind of coming back and want to lay claim to it. And he was like, oh, hell no, I don't think so. But see, you have to understand that we want to go and divide up the moon already. There's already treaties being adopted for when we go back to the moon, who gets what? For mining operations or whatever. What? Do you know about that? They are in arguments now as to who's going to get what part of the moon. The Chinese, the Russians, us, other countries, and they're like, hey, that moon's up there for all of us, Well, wait a minute, now most people aren't hearing about that. So, but we have to consider what these, I say higher ups, they ain't me and you, that they're concocting these things. And you say, well, but it's just politics. Oh, no, this is just a big game for them. And we have to understand that. They are presenting us the truth so we can get pissed off at the opposition, so we can vote. And then the opposition says, that's not really true. So then if you're not sure if you believe these folks over here because you've seen them lie and they haven't fulfilled some of the promises, going to drain the swamp. Has anybody left the swamp that you really know of? You know what I'm saying? And so with all this Q stuff and everything, and I backed off and I still keep an eye on it. And people are like, well, and Trump's going to do it, but he hasn't. Now, I also know that, there are people who have tried to off him several times. They got to Ronald Reagan, shot him, almost killed him, right there on the street. And so they would like to take Trump out. Yes, there are factions that would if they could. Okay. This is very real. Now, so there are some things that he would like to do, I'm sure, but it would absolutely mean his death because so many folks within an FBI group or a clique or whatever, they're all going to sit there and go, if he does this, we're going to kill the bastard. You know, they're just sitting around and having a beer going, if this mofo tries something like that, we're going to take him out. There's going to be a rifle on the roof and he's just going to be dead. And so he has to live with that. Now, I honor him in that he's got a lot of guts to go out there and be visible for target practice, you know, because some of these guys are really good. But at the same point, though, I got to say, what's our alternative in this? And I don't see it, you know, not at the present time. So what should we do? Keep an eye on the fact that the Republicans are creating their own type of chaos. And they're going to say, well, the Democrats wanted me to lock up the nation. He could just say, okay, that's it. I've had enough. Stop this mask wearing crap and let's get back to business. But see, there are too many people want to argue with him. But now maybe it is too close to election, and maybe when he is elected, he'll say, get rid of this stuff. But he's also been talking about wanting to vaccinate us all. And we all know how we feel about that, most of us anyway. And the younger folks are speaking up going, you're not giving me a shot. No, I will go home. I will stay home. I will run away. I will hide in the woods. But I'm not getting one. These are the 10 and 11 and 12, 13-year-olds. And think about that. They kind of sort of outnumber us in a way. So, maybe what we need is sort of a Lord of the Flies type thought in this, in that, no, you're not going to do it. You grown-ups are bad. Peter Pan kind of stuff, No, you grown-ups are bad. And we're going to get rid of all you bad grown-ups. I kind of see that why, hey, let's take over the planet. And, when grandma and grandpa can't program their VCR or turn on their computer, the 8-year-old comes up and fixes it for them. So who should run the place? Who's maybe already running it? The kids, but I digress. But with that said, though, in this Truth with the Chaos, so we know other channels, and I've been notified and have seen not just a particular channel that we have discussed, but some other channels who have all of a sudden started talking about, being Wiccan also means that, you can do a couple of dark spells, to like see where the light comes from so that you can follow that energy. Like, what's this double talk you're talking about? So there, and talking with a friend of mine last night, he came by to see me for a minute. And we always talk about the spiritual wars going on. And he's like, Dave, man, they have doubled down and tripled down. He said, there are people that just seem to be on the fence here for a while, but now are like, they're just going crazy. He goes, I just want to go like this and just keep my mouth shut and try not to get involved. And we're all in that sort of same syndrome. And that's where I think what we do with this chaos is up to us. So I was listening to Sasha Stone and the New Earth Project and a program they did about a month ago called Line in the Sand, where people all around the world are gathered together and we're all saying, no, enough is enough. Australia a month ago, and Marie, she's down in there. Lord, I have not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name. And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. They can use God as an excuse. Yep. Thank you, Marie. And is your brother okay? I still got his name sitting right here beside the computer. Bye, Jamie. Hi, how you doing? Blessings and favor to you as well. Bye, Jamie. Keep up the work. Hey, Delaney, there's shamans in Peru who have been doing protection rituals for Trump. Yeah. Hindus love Trump too. But here's the thing, though. We're all sort of making him out to be the savior, but we honestly must consider that he's just the other side of the same coin with a slight same agenda, which is to keep us all under control. I mean, if we all had good paying jobs, wouldn't we be under control? We'd be happy. We'd be, everybody'd be hunky dory, right? Oh, to give me a decent job back, to be able to be, for me, to be able to be an engineer again and design tools and stuff and that kind of thing. Man, it's not there. It could be, but they cured Trump of COVID in 3 days. Yeah, he went on Friday, like hung on the cross, and come back on a Sunday out of the tomb. Ain't that just? You got to admit that was on purpose or not. You just got to say, "Hi, Ian. How are you?" All true stories must be reconciled, but of course, no mistakes in our movie Two Bliss, in spite of the necessary struggle. Yep, says Jamie. By Jamie. By Jamie Hillier Rubis. I am sovereign. I don't break the law. I break UCC legalities. I am not under the jurisdiction of legalities, and I dare anyone to try to slap a legal fine on my being. Well, here's the thing. I had that same frame of mind years ago, and when I said, listen, I don't owe all those taxes. There's a problem here. You doubled my taxes. Who did this and what and why? And they were like, you're going to pay this. But you're going to pay this. And then the fines doubled. So then I owed them $1,000, and they were going to sell my property. It was up, they had put a notice on the door, and, and so it's like, you can say I'm a sovereign being all I want to, but when the government steps in and the sheriff comes with a gun and you go, but I'm a sovereign being, they go, stand back or I'll take you to jail. But I'm a sovereign being. Are you going to shoot him? Because they will hang you. So it's like this idea of I'm a sovereign being. Now, I am a sovereign being, but I know that as a sovereign being in this reality, I got to wiggle through their crap. I just have to. Now, I keep it to a minimum, but you still have to. Otherwise, they will literally hang your ass. They will kill you, knock you off, bump you off, or, kill you by cop. Well, here is this an arrest. They did that to me, and they threw me in a mental hospital for 3 days, shot me up with drugs that I never requested, nor did I want. Made me sleep on the floor of a nut house with real crazy people around me. And then tried to bill me $9,500 that Social Security didn't pay for it, which they shouldn't have paid a dime anyway, for a 3-night stay on the floor, and whatever they gave me, I had a seizure and conked out and hit my head and shoulder in there, but they didn't want to be responsible for that one, but anyway, so you say, well, but I'm still a sovereign being. I dare them. They will, they can, and you can die in the process, dying, being a sovereign being, because I am, but I still know that their rules apply. As much as I want to jump up and down and scream, I am a sovereign being. And the sheriff's going to look at me and he's going to look at his buddy and go, that's one of those guys, yeah, let's shoot him. Okay. You take the high shot and I'll take the low shot. Okay. All right. And you're dead. I mean, because it's the mentality of the people who are serving these things when you go to court. I've heard some of this, and I have a few friends of mine who are lawyers. And so in having this discussion, they're like, that's just not going to go, because when you go to court, you go to the corporate court. And so you want to claim your sovereignty, that's common law. And we just don't practice that here. And when you try to shove common law down the corporate's throat, the first thing they want to do is slap your nappy ass and tell you stop it, or we're going to throw your ass in jail. They did that to Winston. I think he was 72 years old, and they got him on some bogus shit from years ago and threw his, lame ass in federal prison. I think he's still there. So, you say, well, the feds will never get me. Well, you just might wake up and your house is burned down or something has happened to your property. And you go, well, but I'm still a sovereign being. Listen, don't go piss them off. Okay. I extremely believe that you should claim that you are a sovereign being, but not to the courts. That is suicide. That takes a lot of money, and most people, oh, well, this one guy made it. You know how many people tried, and did he really make it? Or did they allow him to make it so they could try to suck other people into the system to see who else was out there so they could eliminate them, make them look like stupid fools? Now, I went into this years ago. I was really headstrong into it. And when I realized that more people were getting their fingers burnt, cut off, in jail, fined, or otherwise, like me, well, I'm not going to pay this, but I object. I'm a sovereign being, blah, blah, blah. And they go, well, no, that's county tax. You go to the governor and go, no, that's the county rule, pay your taxes. And if you don't, they have the right to levy fees. And no, it's all legal. But Your Honor, I want to, sorry, we're capital letters here. And, your recourse is, to go before, in March or April of next year, you go to them and say, I think my taxes were too high last night and I want last year and I want them checked. But we don't give any money back and we don't give you any credit. But you can go to the county board and say, listen, I think my taxes are too high. Would you I would like to have them reappraised, which they must do, right? But see, and they did that to me 3 times. They'll appraise it, drop my taxes for 1 year, and then raise them again. And then I have to go in and go through the whole rigmarole again. And I would have done it this year again, except the COVID thing came in and they shut down all the county buildings. So by the time it was time for me to go bitch about it, they said, oh, well, the deadline's over. You can't complain until next year again. So there's only like 3 or 4 months next year that I can actually complain, okay, and that they can actually do something. The rest of the time is like, well, what about now? No, you got to wait till next year. But I want to complain now. Go back out there and check my property. Well, it won't be effective. I don't care. Go out and reappraise my property now. You're appraising it for twice its value. Oh, but Mr. No, we don't do that until after we wait until after the first of the year. Go ahead. I've went through this several times. So you say, well, I'm a sovereign being. Yeah, okay. Within their rules. Now, good luck to those folks who want to spend the energy to try to go down that road. But my suggestion to folks who are thinking about that, thinking about it is not wrong. But until the courts are changed on a level to where there is a local constabulary that uses common law, then you are a sovereign citizen in that court. But in the corporate law, oh no, you ain't. We all have a number. We all have a designation. We all have our place in the thing. So we're just literally numbers. How many people lived, how many people died, how old are you, how much money can we get for your district? Are there more Democrats or Republicans? Can we redistrict our states so that, our delegates will be able to get more votes and stay in power longer? Come on, it's rigged. The whole spiel is rigged. So what we have to do is take a look at the chaos and go, now let's see. That guy over there is a pig fucker. I'm not voting for him. Okay, I mean, he is. Excuse my French, by the way, but there was somebody around here that actually was one of those kind of people. They named a road after him. And I was like, oh, man. But anyway, so the idea is that there are people who do absolutely horrendous things, but not necessarily their friends and neighbors know what they're doing, that they pedophile the grandkids or anything like that. Oh, because it's all kept in the family and hush hush. Or that, this guy over here really loves his goats, hadn't slept with his wife in 20 years, but he stays down at the goat pen, all the time. And I'm being honest, it might sound gross, but I have, unfortunately, these people are dead now, but, and wanted me to join in on their activities. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. So bestiality and think, oh, and my friend asked me the other day, do you think this is really true? And I said, unfortunately, yes. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I haven't seen that particular act, but I know of people that I knew and that I was shocked when I found out that they had this kind of behavior. Well, how did you know? Because they asked me to join in. That's how I know. Or to participate in some way. And so you say, well, oh my God, well, I trusted these people. Other people trusted these people, and so, but then when you find out these quirky little weird shits, the truth, then you're even more confused about the chaos. So there are a lot of people who have things in their closets that they won't discuss, but for the folks who have been in that closet with them can say, old Joe, he was moving kind of slow, but his junction was working overtime. So, does that make any of this right? No. So what do we do with this confusion? Oh, and by the way, in bringing things to the up to date, I was making comment with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, one thing that has bothered me with the Catholics, that they took a Jesuit who is not part of the Roman Catholic Church. The Jesuits are a separate order. That they would put a Jesuit in charge of the whole Roman Catholic Church as the Pope. Well, there's been he's done a lot of damage to the church, let me tell you. Changed the Bibles and told everybody to throw their old Bibles away to use the new one. I mean, it states right in the Bible, in Revelations at the end, he who changes the word of God shall be written out of the tree of life forever and ever. Anyway, so they did. So now the new thing with El Popo is that, gays, they have a right to, this, that, and the other thing too. And there are people, within the church who are like, what? Now, I'm not anti-gay. I have friends of mine who are gay, family members who are gay. This is not that. It's the fact that all of the rules, all of these old traditions within the Catholic Church, and some people say, well, they need to be changed. No, if the people should abide by these old rules. If it says no gay marriage in the Catholic Church, get married someplace else. That's all. It doesn't say you can't get married, but you can't get married in the church. And I just believe that should stick, But what I know, my granddaughter, let's not even go there, okay? They're married or whatever. My point is that if it's the rule of the church and has been that way for centuries, then everybody wants to change the book to suit the times. And I just have to say, well, wait a minute, aren't we leading ourselves into, and we've led ourselves into great big giant conundrums. The Episcopalian Church split because one side wanted gays and the other side didn't. And I'm all for it. But my point is that everybody wants the establishment to change for my personal belief. And I'm opposed to that. Now, if everybody within the Catholic Church raised their hand and said, listen, we think this is silly, even though it's the Bible and supposed to be the Word of God, we're all agreeing to go against the Word of God here. Just saying. Now, if we're all in agreement, but if one guy who's in charge of it says, okay, we're all going to change our opinions now. And I mentioned this the other day. I said, we couldn't eat meat on Fridays, only fish. So when we traveled on the carnival and stuff, it was really hard to get anything to eat on Friday that wasn't some kind of meat. And it was hard to find fish. So you'd go into a place and then go, oh, you must be Catholic. We got something back here for you. We got some fish. What? Yeah, well, we're Catholic. Yeah, okay. So, but to everybody else, it was like, why are you giving it up? Well, so then later on, so if you, that was a venial sin. So if you ate meat on Friday, you had to go confess your sin. So I don't know how many times I had to confess that I had a hamburger on a Friday. You know, I had a hamburger yesterday, actually, first one in a long time that I made at home. But you know, I mean, I ate meat on Friday. Oh my God, I was going to have to go confess. So then they changed the rules. Said, well, all you people who ate meat on Friday, we're giving you this absolution. You're now, you know, you're absolved of your sins. But and from this point on, we don't care. What? So it was a sin for all those years, and so the little kids used to get in groups and go, I have to go in and confess you know, I had pepperoni on a pizza the other day, you know, when I was at Joey's house. He's who's a Baptist. So there were all these things that made us feel sinful. And then that just out of the blue, it's not a sin anymore. So then all the people who were damned up to this point for being gay or wanting to be gay or whatever, now all of a sudden, with the swipe of his hands, you're absolved and it's okay now. You see what I mean? It's not that that two people shouldn't be able to marry or whatever, regardless of sex or whatever. Whoa! There, Duggar's on the howl, ain't he? He's really... Calm down, boy. Calm down. 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 Good boy. I know you want to go out there. Calm down. We do have foxes and possums around. Cool down a minute. But anyway, so with that said, though, so all the rules are being changed. So what we thought was the truth the other day is no longer a truth now. So what was the truth before ain't no longer a truth now. So what, you know what I'm saying? So what we think is the truth today in 6 months or a year, or maybe tomorrow, will no longer be the truth. So we say, well, how do we deal with this chaos? We have, in a lot of ways, we got to stay out of the fight, but we absolutely have to keep an eye on what these folks are doing. So as an observer myself, as Hawkeye Two Feathers, I keep an eye on these things and just kind of want to bring it to your attention. And that there's also some very hard information, if you will, that some of these recent earthquakes have been in retaliation to some of the folks upstairs. And that actually is like one mob family over another going, listen, if you don't do this, we're gonna burn some more of California, or we're gonna put an earthquake down in the San Andreas, you know, or that one that was in Alaska, that 7.5, that was very fishy. Let's just say, okay, and it's extremely possible it came from an outside source. All right, the bad guys. And that the 5.2 that came right after it was the good guys stopping the tsunami. Whether you believe it or not, that's what happened. So, and there wasn't a tsunami after one was issued, just saying. But there have been a string of 4-pointers and stuff like that that are popping up within a couple of hours all over the place. And, you know, some of these people, like I've stated before, in their anger and whatever, would just love it to see the planet blow up, you know, because why? They feel they have a contract for the planet. And those of us who are living here, we just happen to be squatters. Well, I didn't know you owned this land. Tough. You know, you're out west and you're a pioneer in a wagon train, and you and your family and friends stop and camp someplace, you know, watching old movies, and the rancher comes up and goes, what y'all doing here? Well, you know, we found this really nice spot here by this stream, and there's a beautiful valley here. We thought we'd make this our home. And he goes, sorry, no, but you're on my ranch. And they go, but wait a minute, you know, where's your house? About 2 miles up over that hill. But this land is mine. You know, it's mine land. Sorry. Well, but we've come all this way. Well, if you stay, we'll have to fight you. And there are people who squatted on land without the owner's permission. And so people do it now. There are places like in London and stuff like that. It's common if somebody moves out of an apartment or somebody goes on a vacation. There are people who will break in and stay until the people come home. And then there are times when the squatters will say, but because it's public housing, they'll go, well, you were gone for 2 weeks. We thought the place was empty, so we live here now. So you get back to your home, and there are people who have actually overtaken your apartment or whatever, and all your stuff, and you go, but I want, and no, there's squatters' rights. What? Oh yeah, right. So in that squatters' rights, back in the day when Eisenhower was president, and back and then with Truman and all after World War II, they had some discussions with some aliens, whether you want to believe it or not. But the folks who came in said, listen here, we actually own this place. And Ike was like, no, you don't. So that's sort of when the war began. We on this planet said, no, we live here. You guys are from someplace else. How can you tell us that you own the planet? And well, we've got this scroll from such and such, and we've got these agreements, and there are people on your planet that signed this shit. What are you talking about? Well, we didn't sign it. That treaty doesn't belong to us. So there was some renegotiations and things and stuff. But the basic line is, we don't own this place. We just don't. And, but there are those who understand that Mother Earth is a living being, and that with that said, want to respect her. And they think we're a bunch of parasitic, which we are. Some of us very parasitic. But we're just parasitic vermin that are messing up their little place to come and party, And you go, well, wait a minute, that sounds absurd. But from their point of view, we're just a bunch of squatters on their property. And they never told us we could. We're like rabbits in the desert, or, prairie dogs. They go out there in places. Prairie dogs are considered vermin because they dig holes, and the cattle and horses step in them. And, anyway, but the idea so that, prairie dogs move into an area, and before you know it, they've infested, half of the farm. And you go, well, wait a minute, now there's an all-out war on prairie dogs, because of what they do. And again, you can't, and so you're trying to find it, but what does it boil down to? The rancher. Prairie dogs got to go. We're going to gas them out. We're going to shoot them. We're going to burn them out. We're going to do whatever. We're going to trap them, but the prairie dogs got to go. So in the eyes of these other folk, we're the prairie dogs here on this planet. And the sooner we kind of get that in our head. Now, what does that mean in the long run? It means that that's the mob bosses we're talking about. And you go, well, there's really no proof. There is proof there. But just keep that in mind, okay? In that when we look at this whole picture, we have to, just like Hawk and just like Eagle, you have to soar up higher and say, Trump ain't doing this on his own. Well, it's Trump's agenda. Yeah, but somebody else is whispering in his ear. And one of the things I was thinking about today, well, he's one of the white hats. And I'm thinking to myself, I think those white hats are gray, just between you and me. I don't necessarily think they're like the white hats, because there are other groups who are set against both of these guys, because they know they're both, involved with these higher folk, and that what these higher folk, they want us eliminated because they think there's too many of us. We're parasitic, and we're ruining the place, and we're obnoxious, and we're opinionated, and they want to take the spirit out of us. They want to close down the God spark so that those of us that are left will just become working zombies without complaining or eating. And if we die, oh, well, Herman died over there yesterday. Oh, did he? Well, did they bury him? Well, I think so. They might have turned him into Soylent Green. I'm not quite sure, but hey, have you tasted that batch of new Girl Scout cookies called Soylent, Green? Man, they're really minty flavored. You know what I mean? But old Hector, I don't know. But anyway, Hector sure was good the other day with a little bit of mint and some coffee, referring to Soylent Green. Anyway, Pamela, let's see. Let me go back. Hi, Robert. Maybe they own us too. I don't. That's where I think my own personal sovereignty comes in. They may lay claim to me, and they may think they owe me, and they might shoot me with a ray gun, and that be that. But the idea that no, I don't think they do. Do they control parts of my life? Yeah, I have to pay my taxes, and if I want gasoline. I could make my own some of this stuff, but it's really freaking difficult. And I'm getting too old for some of this stuff. So it's like a whole lot easier just to go buy a few gallons of gas to put in my truck. But am I paying taxes? Yeah. Am I paying the demon? Yeah. Are they taking it out of the ground and doing all that? Yeah. But if I want to survive in these days and times at my age, I'm just going to have to follow some of this protocol. I'm going to have to, dance with the devil for these few things. But as far as, traveling around and having a big motorhome and sucking down, 10 gallons every 10 miles, or something like that, and being a harm on the no. Plastic bottles and things, my feeling about that. But the idea, though, that there are things that we can or cannot do. And so how do we wish to participate? So I make my choice locally. Eisenhower sold us out. BS Hawkeye gave them permission to experiment. I'm not saying that he did a good job, but he put his foot down up to a point. And I'm not saying he did a good job, Pamela. Oh, no. Yeah, he swung a deal all right. I ain't saying that he's not guilty of this stuff. I didn't go that far in there. I'm just saying he had the conversation with him. But no. He wasn't like guilt-free of this, not by a long shot. But you have to also understand, here's a guy in a spaceship and you got to go, oh, fuck. Now what do I do? So we can either take him or you can give him, but so whether he agreed or not, I in a lot of ways, he just came out of a war. And when you just sent 2 battalions to their death, you say, what's a couple of, human beings to keep the peace? I'm not saying I can understand where he would think that, though. So, listen, I've been listening to the economics thing for a long time. And let me give y'all a hint. And I've talked with a few other local folks too. And here's what we believe in. Those folks who invested in the stock market before and their 401ks, they lost their homes, they lost their pensions, they lost everything. And it's like, so do you know what they're doing? They're like me. They're taking money out of the bank every month and keeping the cash. Because when Hurricane Michael came through a couple of years ago, there were stores open, but you couldn't there was nothing electronic. The only thing that worked was cash. And so if I needed help cleaning up my yard because I had a little bit of cash stashed here, I could give somebody $20 to help me cut up some wood that was on my driveway. I could wave this little piece of plastic around all day long or give them a check, but that didn't help them because nobody had electricity, and in some places up to 2 weeks around here. So if you didn't have, those cards didn't do you a bit of good. If you had gold or silver, now silver and coinage, the coinage was good. But to the point, That the idea, though, that anything else was worthwhile is no. So have gold. There was no one who would have exchanged gold. You could have laid a pound of gold down on the counter and they would have went, what do you want? A bag of chips or what? I can't trade that. Well, but it's not worth anything right now because the lights aren't on and we're dealing only in cash. But it's gold. So, but look, I got this big clump of gold. And everybody looks around going, can you eat it? No. Well, I'll give you some dollar bills. You want to cut me off a chunk? Well, what? So I'll take, maybe you might find somebody with dollar bills. They'll say, well, give me a chunk of that gold and I'll give you some cash. But in the long term, the way it was around here, we were devastated for many miles, that you could have had all the gold in the world. It would not have done you a lick bit of good, nor silver. Oh, but I've got silver stashed. Well, I've got this certificate. Good. Can you get it? No. Can you use it? No. So this idea of what should you do? Get money out of the bank and stash it in a can. Why? Because it will still be money when you get it out of the can. Well, it won't have achieved any. If I leave it in the bank, but if you can't get the money out of the bank, well, but I can put it in there, but now there is no interest rate. You used to be able to put something in short term, but now the rates are so low that there's no money in that. You might as well just keep it yourself. Why? Because you can put your little mittens on it. That's why. So with all this stuff about, well, my security is this and my security is that. If you want real security, keep putting a few, whatever bucks you can afford under your mattress in a safe in somewhere where where it will be safe, hard to get to and whatever, but that you have it, because all this other stuff is going to be meaningless. If the electricity goes off, the internet goes down, all Bitcoin, all this other stuff ain't going to work. And we've already proved it. Ask the folks down here in Hurricane Alley. We know that have a cash in hand when the lights are out can buy you something where any of this other stuff is just fancy. So, well, they're going to get rid of the currency. Well, I would suggest you get some more of that and really hold on to it, because you will always be able to exchange it. Well, what do you mean? Well, if I got $50 on, in $1 bills and I want something at the store, if everybody has gone digital, he's still going to take that dollar though, because they want that dollar. They want to take it out of circulation. But if enough of us have enough of the money, take it out of the bank, make them give you, if you got $4,000, keep 500 somewhere. I do. Not that I have that much money in the bank, but I mean, percentage wise, I have a percentage of my income somewhere here in the house because I want to get my hands on it. Now, it ain't a lot, but if the lights are out and I need to get something or pay somebody, I have the money on hand. I don't have to write a check or do this thing or go to the, nope, here's $20, done deal, right? So, but in that, you want to save money, you want to know what to do, that's what you do, because things are so volatile right now. If the market goes down and these crazy people want to shut the internet down or the lights off or something, but you can't get to the banks or whatever it is, and they can do this, then your little check card ain't worth shit. And if you ain't got $20 in your pocket, going to the store is useless. And you know it, right? You ain't going to be able to barter unless you know the guy behind the counter. Don't money for stock exchange so you become a discontinued product. Yeah, absolutely. Too many things happen. And too many folks that I have seen that have lost everything. And they were counting on it, They don't have anything to count on now. But you can count on the money that you put under your mattress. Now, I use that as an old timey thing. But yeah, you'd be better off in buying a lottery ticket. Absolutely, I agree with you, Pamela, because you might actually get money that you could spend. But keeping it in I'm sorry I can't listen anymore. Bless you. I can only hope you stop scaring yourself. Oh, I'm not scaring myself. No, but people need to be aware of this. I always came here for your shamanic advice. You made a left somewhere. Nope, I didn't make a left. This is just this particular message for now because all of this chaos, Pamela, if we don't understand how it's working, it's eating on people's energy. So, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm done with it, but keep an eye out because there's a lot of fear out there, and this is not to be fearful. This is just to say, listen, you got to make people aware if they don't see what's going on. So, and you have to see the bigger picture. But back to the shamanic things, and this is not about trying to put fear into people, but do we understand the bigger picture? And that's what this video is about. Not to scare you. Do you know the bigger picture? Do you see what's going on? There are other people who are peeing in their pants right now. Yep, understood. No, this particular video just had, like some of the things that has come up before. Sometimes you got to be the grown up in the room, and it's like I don't think people really know about, the two sides of the same coin and what we're really up against. But that doesn't mean we should give up. Oh, hell no. But if you've got extra information and you go, well, I can see where these people are starting to create this chaos. I know now that I have this information, I can see how they're playing this game and I can stay out of it more rather than becoming obsessed or whatever. And then later on be disappointed because the truth that you believed in before is now not a truth, it's a lie. So, but with that said, other folks have got stuff to do. And I just wanted to get on here and say a few words about this because I think it is, it's always like to be aware. And there are certain things we need to be aware of as well. So in it, that's what this is all about. Anyway, I love you all, I do. And sorry, Pamela, if you thought that this was like only going in one direction. It's not. There's a big fight going on. But if we don't have enough information, then we really don't know what we're fighting for. And those people that thought that they were fighting for, Trump and all this truth, and then they find out some other things and they go, now they don't know what to do. So if we're aware of the situation, we can still make a decision. We can still have an informative decision. And we might decide not to do anything at all and just let somebody else vote for us. That's okay too. But whatever it is, if we don't have enough information, then how can we make any correct decisions? So that's my job. I gotta try to tell as much truth, and some of this is subjugation, but I'm giving the story as it's been told. Many people know this. You can find this stuff out on your own on the internet, and from really decent people, not from shysters or anybody, but dark journalists and folks like that. They've got some really wonderful information, and they can back it up. But why is this important? Why is this important to our souls? Because if we're participating in something that we don't understand, they may be siphoning off parts of our energy and our souls. And by golly, I want to know, regardless of whose side it is, if my side might do it too. I mean, I trusted the Catholics for a long time. And now it's like, but in this, so where we put our trust and how we put our trust. And we listen to the truth and say, well, I have believed this person for years and now I can't trust them. I don't know what to think. That's my point. And so with all of that, though, the more information we have, the better we can make our physical decisions, which ultimately, especially now with all these energies and all, are affecting our spiritual. They want our spirit. And as a sovereign being, I say, sorry, no, can't have me. I do not consent. Now, there are things that I might have to put up with And I haven't made all the decisions because I don't know what the rest of their plan is. But here's the thing. If we speak out enough about some of these things and they find out we know what their plan is, and that there are a lot of us that know what the plan is, and that they might have to change tactics, you see. So the more of us who are aware and can speak the truth on both sides and understand the bigger picture, then they're going to be going, we tried to snooker them folks over there, but it didn't work. So will they try something else? You betcha. We need to keep on our toes and keep adapting and keep our faith in each other. And I say in each other, I mean, I trust y'all. I do. And for Pamela, I'm sorry that this went in this direction for this particular topic. But in the bigger picture of things, there were spiritualists and religious leaders who in their churches had to sometimes speak about politics. But the politics right now is not so much about the politics. It's about what other people think they can do to us. And up to a point, we can get crucified or we can kind of sort of go along. And that doesn't mean that we're a sheeple. We're not following blindly. We're falling along the edges because we know their game. It's a lot different. It's a lot different. And you go, well, what can I do about it? I don't know. But them people over there, if you cross them, they'll shoot you. So what do? You don't cross them and they don't shoot you. I mean, for people in Chicago and even people in Tampa with the mob that was there, for the mob that was there, there were certain places that you just didn't go. There were certain names and things and stuff you just didn't mention. And the long and the short of that was, you knew they were there. You knew they operated, but you didn't cross them, and you didn't talk bad about them because you might get whopped, So, but anyway, but you lived in Tampa anyway. People still live in Chicago knowing that there's, the people still live in Las Vegas because even though they know of all the stuff. Come on now. So we live with this stuff all the time. But how much do we engage in it? How much do, if we see the mob boss out with his hat on and walking down the street and he's the Don, So in that, when you understand the bigger picture, you know how to stay out of the trouble, even though the trouble's still there. And so you work at it around the edges as much as you can. So such is the way of the world and of the universe. There are entities out there just, that are just no good SOBs. And, sorry, but, that's just who they are. And you can preach to them all day long and they just might end up eating you at the end of it. That's how much good it will do you. But knowing that there might be a critter out there to eat you means you will stay away from the lions and tigers and bears. You follow me? So, there's lions and tigers and bears out in the world. Yes. So you stay away so they don't eat you. Okay. Or you and your family. So having that knowledge and information keeps you safe. So hopefully that's what this purpose is. There's stuff out there. And with that information, then we can stay safe. We can stay more protected because we know what more of the game is. So, but anyway, I love you all. Thank you, Marie. It's good to see you back. Teresa, as always. Barry Chad. Hi, Michelle. Truth in me, always. And I know that sometimes I come up with some tough topics. And as much as I want to stay in the shamanism realm all the time, that the shamanism realm doesn't speak on current chaos, and you have to bring this stuff up. You just have to. As much as, if there was dissent within a tribe, it was the medicine man's duty to speak up. He couldn't be quiet because part of the medicine of the tribe. It was his job to keep harmony as well. So if there was disharmony, the first thing you do is like, listen, you over there, punk, shut up, you know, calm down, you know. So as much as it is of a shaman to just speak on spiritual matters, it is also important for the shaman to point out the chaos that will ruin a person's spiritual sense. And that's what they want to do with all of this stuff. The bottom line is they want to destroy our spiritual sense, turn against each other, you know? Kent says spiritual wars are deep set and logical thinking is part of our and is part of understanding. Now, with that said, here's one of the things about the spiritual wars and the logical thinking. My logical thinking on the matter is not their logical thinking. So to think like them, I got to really warp and twist myself up, as we all do in a lot of ways, going, I don't see how they'd come up with it. Why are they saying, how are they doing it? But you know what I mean? So we don't think logically like they do. And they don't think like us because they are above us. That's what they think. So, but for those of us who try to be critical thinkers, you know, it's like this doesn't make sense to us. But after a while, there is enough of a pattern that shows up that we go, aha, I see what y'all are trying to do here. Now, I may not understand it or what's behind it because I'm trying to understand their logic and I just can't get it. So let's see. Truth in Me says many will not know what to do or what options they will have. And something that has come to mind here is that those of us with these type of groups and your understanding of things is, and it's this, and I've said this before, but we have to be there to pick up the pieces of some of these folks. We have to be stable enough on the other end, regardless of what happens, to go, hey, look, yeah, okay, we know you're upset and or you're crying because you don't understand what just happened. These processes that we're all going through. And we've got all these energy waves that are coming in from all over the place. So, but our job, if you accept it, I know I have, I'm here to help try to stay stable in a shattered society. Say that 5 times real quick. Marie says, we can't bypass it. It's how we mature and gain the wisdom. Yes, we need to make correct decisions. Listen, we're going to screw up. Yeah, I bet you we're all going to screw up at some point between now and the end of our lives. It may just be a little tiny one. It may be a big one, but we're all going to screw something up. Too much salt in a stew, whatever it may be. But we're all going to screw up something. It's our human nature. And listen, we are human beings. We are not infallible, and neither is the Pope. But Michelle says the art of war, know yourself and know the enemy. Yep. So that's what this video is about. More information on the enemy, because there is a spiritual war going on. But if we don't understand what the enemy's up to, you know, so anyway, just have to have our poker faces on too. Yes. And smile sweetly and go, oh, thank you so much, you know, and then go home and be sovereign. If they like to use deception, then we need not to let them know what we plan. Right. But see, the plan is to be yourself. Well, what's the plan in that? Well, where's the master? Well, if we understand the general understanding of the universe and our connection, etc., then when we are ourselves, then our true spirit shines through, the truth shines through with us, and our intent and all that. They can't take that away from us. They can try. It's right in front of our faces, hidden in plain sight, says Marie. Yes, I agree. David Castle, their Milky Way is going to be doing a show in a little bit. and I want to get off here. I got to let the dog out, and I haven't really had supper yet, and I had other things I wanted to do. But anyway, so I did a 2-hour video that was supposed to be 40 minutes. Metaphorically, Milky Way is up next, folks. Yeah, so I'm getting off of here. I love you all. Thank you. And for those of you folks in the background that aren't in the chat, we love you too. Thank you. So with that said, have a great, hi, Sarah. Thank you as well. And this is to, this is not to discourage you. This is to say, I know more information, and now we can be on the same page and we can help stop these folks, because there are lots more folks who are trying to stop this than you and I may be aware of. And that's a good thing. So with that said, I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to understand, to accept, and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. And in that law of 3, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept, receive, and share the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe with anyone that you come in contact with. With that, my brothers and sisters, regardless of what anybody else says, my brothers and sisters in this, I want to say this crime, to many folks, we're committing a crime by believing in prayer and believing in spirituality. So my partners in crime and spirituality with seeking the light and the high frequency, I love you all. Thank you, Robert V. Ice Station Z, thank you. Project Skyfalls, Teresa, amen. Ween, yeah, Holler-ween is coming up. And yeah, Duggar's over there asleep. Whatever it was that Bog didn't. So check in Milky Way, and I'm out of here, folks. TTFN. Be kind, be sweet, be safe.